INFJs are rare, and probably not just because you read it somewhere on the internet or just watched another YouTube video talking about it, but if you are one, you probably know it just because you've been looking at the world around you, and you know that you feel really deeply about connecting with people, helping them, and that sort of thing. And you usually don't feel like you get the same reaction from the people that you're talking to. So you just feel it, you know it, you're intuitive. INFJs have a mindset of help me, help you, which sometimes we use better than other times, but we have this ability that we can develop and choose to use it. And it's very unique because INFJs use it not to create advantage, but balance, which is kind of a breakthrough and a fascinating thing if you think about it, because everybody has their own motives, and sometimes not always the best reasons for wanting to do things. But at the heart of the INFJ is this actual need to just create balance around them. And we really feel it when we're not living up to our own expectation for that. And I just think that's amazing and inspiring. You can achieve just miraculous things when you have the right motives for making change or helping the people around you. So it really is changing the world, whether it's your community or a bigger area than that. You really are doing that when you're trying to create balance every hour of the day, everything that you do in some way. So with all of that being said, is it a huge challenge? Yes. Is it a huge responsibility? Absolutely. And I don't think that's lost by INFJs, especially those who know that they're an INFJ and know what their personality really means and how it affects their daily lives. The truth is, you have a unique combination of skills and compassion that exceeds most people's, at least when you combine them together. Because it's one thing to have compassion but no skills, and one thing to have skills but no compassion. Either way, you can't really get the things done, which is why you always hear about famous INFJs like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. Of course, there were some bad ones, but the great ones, they really stuck out just because, for lack of other reasons, you could say they didn't really want to be famous. They didn't do it for making themselves known to be great. They just wanted to help everyone that they came in contact with, which they did. So I think what this comes down to, being the advocate and being somebody who's inspirational to everyone that you encounter, is, it's not easy, but through self-development and the fact that you do have those innate skills, abilities, gifts to do all of this, to accomplish all of this, you can do it. And the cool thing is, you actually don't need anyone else to tell you how to do it. You already intuitively know how to get this done. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take some work. But the good part I can tell you is it's absolutely worth it. And the gifts that I've used through my own teaching and different things I've done over the years is that I've never regretted any amount of time or effort that I've put into improving myself, because it helped me to improve the lives of others around me. So pretty much all I can say is go do what you know you need to do to enable that to happen in your life, and go change the world. Hey there, geniuses. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you seem to see things long before everyone else around you? Not because you're smarter, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you notice patterns. You notice small details and inconsistencies. You notice the things people don't say just as much as the things they do say. Does that make sense? And if you're an INFJ, chances are you've experienced that strange feeling where you can almost predict where a situation is heading months before it gets there. You meet someone, and within a few conversations, you have a sense of who they really are. You join a workplace and quickly see the strengths, weaknesses, politics, and future challenges. You watch a relationship unfold and can often tell where it's heading before others can. And here's the frustrating part. Many times you don't even know how you know. You just know. It's a pattern. It's an intuition. It's a collection of tiny observations that your mind has quietly assembled into a larger picture. And if you've ever tried to explain that to someone else, you probably discovered that it doesn't always go well. Because people want evidence. People want step-by-step explanations. People want proof. Meanwhile, you're standing there thinking, I don't know how to explain it, I just see it. And that can make life surprisingly lonely. Because when you see things early, you're often standing alone for a while. Sometimes months or years. You see the warning signs and opportunities. You see the hidden motivations. You see the potential. And you often watch other people walk right past them. If that's you, I want you to know something. You're not crazy. You're not broken. And you're definitely not alone. A lot of INFJs experience this. But here's where the real challenge begins. Because seeing things early is actually not the problem. The problem is learning what to do with what you see. Most INFJs spend years carrying the burden of everyone else's future. You see a friend making destructive choices, or a coworker heading toward burnout. You see a family member repeating the same mistakes. And because you care deeply, you feel responsible. You want to help. You want to protect them. You want to save them from unnecessary pain. But eventually, you discover one of the hardest lessons an INFJ can learn. You can see someone's path, but you cannot walk it for them. That realization can be painful because INFJs naturally want to guide people toward healthier outcomes. But wisdom is not control, and insight is not responsibility. Should I say that again? Insight is not responsibility. Because if you can see something, that doesn't mean it's your job to carry it. That's a lesson I wish more INFJs understood. Because many of us exhaust ourselves trying to solve problems that don't belong to us. We become emotional project managers for everyone around us. Monitor situations, anticipate outcomes, prepare contingency plans. We imagine future scenarios. And before long, we're carrying 10 times more emotional weight than anyone realizes. Then people wonder why we're tired. The answer is simple. We've been carrying entire worlds in our minds. Now here's something else I've noticed. Many INFJs become frustrated because they expect other people to value pattern recognition the same way we do. But most people don't process information that way. Most people learn through experience. They don't want to hear where the road leads. They don't want to drive down the road, or they want to drive down the road themselves. And while that can be difficult to watch, it's also an important reminder. Everyone has their own journey. and their own timing and their own lessons they need to learn firsthand. Sometimes your role isn't to convince people. It's simply to be available when they're ready. That one shift alone can bring tremendous peace into your life. Instead of constantly trying to pull people toward understanding, you become a lighthouse. The lighthouse doesn't chase ships. It simply shines. People who need to find the light will see it. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough: the emotional cost of seeing too much. Because pattern recognition doesn't just apply to situations, it applies to people. And that's often exhausting. You walk into a room and immediately feel the tension. You notice who is uncomfortable. You notice who feels left out. You notice the fake smiles, the unspoken conflict. You notice the person who looks fine on the outside, but is struggling internally. It's almost like your brain is constantly scanning the environment. The problem is that constant awareness can create sensory and emotional overload, which is why many INFJs crave solitude. Not because we hate people, but because we need space to process everything we've absorbed. And if you're watching this, here's a practical tip. Stop apologizing for needing healthy solitude. You don't need to earn your rest. You don't need permission to recharge. You don't need to explain every quiet season. Some of your greatest clarity will come when you step away from the noise. Another lesson I've learned is not every pattern requires action. That's a big one. INFJs are often so focused on what could happen that they forget to ask whether anything actually needs to be done right now. Sometimes your intuition is showing you information, not instructions. There's a difference. Sometimes you're simply observing, gathering wisdom, you're learning. And sometimes the best response is patience, because timing matters. A seed planted too early can struggle just as much as a seed planted too late. One of the most powerful skills an INFJ can develop is learning when to speak and when to wait. Learning when to intervene and when to observe. When to guide and when to trust the process. That's maturity. That's wisdom. And that's where many INFJs eventually find peace. Not by seeing less or carrying less. You don't have to solve every problem. You don't have to rescue every person. You don't have to explain every insight. You don't have to convince everyone around you that what you're seeing is real. Sometimes the greatest growth comes from quietly trusting what you've learned and continuing forward. And maybe that's exactly what you need to hear today. Maybe you've been carrying too much. Maybe you've been trying to manage outcomes that don't belong to you. And maybe you've been frustrated because other people aren't seeing what you see. And that's okay. Let them walk their path. You walk yours. Continue learning, growing, trusting the instincts that God gave you. Continue refining your wisdom and becoming the person you're meant to be. Because the goal isn't to see more than everyone else. The goal is to use what you see in a way that creates peace, purpose, and positive impact. And if you're an INFJ watching this, remember this. Your ability to see patterns is a gift. Your intuition is a gift. Your empathy is a gift. Your vision is a gift. The challenge isn't learning how to see. You've been doing that your whole life. The challenge is learning how to carry those gifts without letting them carry you. And once you learn that, everything starts to change.
Part 2, the power of empathy and creativity. Empathy is the INFJ's superpower, and it's what gives their art such soul. INFJs have a rare ability to truly feel what others feel. It's not just sympathy or understanding, it's immersion. They step inside others' stories and emotions as if they were their own. This sensitivity gives them a powerful lens to create. Their work becomes a kind of mirror, not just reflecting one person's experience, but something universally human. Their art becomes a vehicle for healing, clarity, and connection. An INFJ musician may compose a song that feels like a whispered conversation with your soul. A writer may craft a story that holds your pain and offers light. A painter may pour emotion into colors that speak louder than words ever could. And it's not about them. INFJs rarely create just to express their truth. They create to connect, to reach others in the places that often go untouched. That's why their work resonates on such a deep level. Where others see noise or randomness, INFJs see patterns and hidden truth. Thanks to their dominant intuition, INFJs naturally connect dots that others overlook. This makes them innovative, deep-seeing creators, able to bridge abstract ideas with grounded insight in extraordinary ways. Their creativity often feels like uncovering something that's already there, something beneath the surface of reality that's waiting to be revealed. It's why so many INFJ creators feel like their best work comes from a place beyond themselves. They are also unafraid to challenge norms. While some artists chase the next trend, INFJs dig deeper. Whether through film, poetry, invention, or activism, INFJ creators are drawn to ideas that disrupt the status quo and offer a glimpse of something more honest and just.
If you're watching this video, you probably already know that INFJs are rare, and probably not just because you read it somewhere on the internet or just watched another YouTube video talking about it, but if you are one, you probably know it just because you've been looking at the world around you, and you know that you feel really deeply about connecting with people, helping them, and that sort of thing. And you usually don't feel like you get the same reaction from the people that you're talking to. So you just feel it, you know it, you're intuitive. INFJs have a mindset of help me help you, which sometimes we use better than other times, but we have this ability that we can develop and choose to use it. And it's very unique because INFJs use it not to create advantage, but balance, which is kind of a breakthrough and a fascinating thing if you think about it, because everybody has their own motives, and sometimes not always the best reasons for wanting to do things. But at the heart of the INFJ is this actual need to just create balance around them. And we really feel it when we're not living up to our own expectation for that. And I just think that's amazing and inspiring. You can achieve just miraculous things when you have the right motives for making change or helping the people around you. So it really is changing the world, whether it's your community or a bigger area than that. You really are doing that when you're trying to create balance every hour of the day, everything that you do in some way. So with all of that being said, is it a huge challenge? Yes. Is it a huge responsibility? Absolutely. And I don't think that's lost by INFJs, especially those who know that they're an INFJ and know what their personality really means and how it affects their daily lives. The truth is, you have a unique combination of skills and compassion that exceeds most people's, at least when you combine them together. Because it's one thing to have compassion but no skills, and one thing to have skills but no compassion. Either way, you can't really get the things done, which is why you always hear about the famous INFJs like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. Of course, there were some bad ones, but the great ones, they really stuck out just because, for lack of other reasons, you could say they didn't really want to be famous. They didn't do it for making themselves known to be great. They just wanted to help everyone that they came in contact with, which they did. So I think what this comes down to, being the advocate and being somebody who's inspirational to everyone that you encounter, is, it's not easy, but through self development and the fact that you do have those innate skills, abilities, gifts to do all of this, to accomplish all of this, you can do it. And the cool thing is, you actually don't need anyone else to tell you how to do it. You already intuitively know how to get this done. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take some work. But the good part I can tell you is it's absolutely worth it. And the gifts that I've used through my own teaching and different things I've done over the years is that I've never regretted any amount of time or effort that I've put into improving myself, because it helped me to improve the lives of others around me. So pretty much all I can say is go do what you know you need to do to enable that to happen in your life, and go change the world. Hello there, geniuses. How are y'all doing? Hope you're having a good day or night whenever you're watching this. This is a topic that I'm kind of looking forward to talking about. How INFJs predict the future, the intuition hack nobody knows. So if you're new to MBTI, the 16 personalities, I'm not really the specialist on breaking down each of the 16 personalities and the function stacks and all of that. There's plenty of videos and creators you can find for that kind of info. The short explanation that I'll give you, especially for those who are new to the 16 personality types, is essentially every person on Earth fits into one of the 16 personality types, and they're named by 4-letter acronyms. Mine is INFJ, and basically that breaks down to introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. And it kind of sounds harsh by that name or breakdown, but it's judging is not meaning in a negative way. It's not meaning good or bad, as a matter of fact. It has to do with cognitively how our brains have been wired, created by God, to basically assess different things and how we interact with the world. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If you want to dive into it more and figure out what your personality is, I'm going to include a link in this video for a free personality test that's going to give you your type. And it only takes about 15-20 minutes, maybe 30 at the most if you take your time, but it's a free test. You're not going to have to pay anything, and you're going to get a full explanation of your results immediately after. I did it back in, I think, 2015, and it was a very eye-opening moment for me, and actually very funny, because it's going to tell you things about yourself that you've never known how to explain to anybody, and nobody's told you that about yourself in such a clear manner. So unless something seems weird, and then you might want to take the test a second time just to make sure you got the right type. But anyhow, I'll leave it at that. As always, you guys can comment, ask questions if you have any. I've been researching the topic of 16 personalities and MBTI for, like I said, about the last 8 or 9 years. So I've learned a lot, but I don't specialize so much in breaking down the science of it and, like I said, the cognitive functions. I just focus more on sharing my own experience and why I believe it's so important and useful for us to know, regardless of what your passions, gifts, talents are in life, and regardless of your goals and everything. Because just having a better understanding of how you function, how your brain works, how you think, how you interact with the world, it it could help absolutely everything. So, okay, so let's get into this. How INFJs predict the future. So, introverted intuition is basically one of the main things that INFJs have more than anybody else. Excuse me. And so it's why it's so rare and misunderstood how INFJs can seemingly predict the future, all while saying that I don't have a crystal ball, I'm not a prophet or anything like that. It's just literally our brain always working in the background. So, how do INFJs always seem to know what's coming to some extent? That's what I'm going to do my best to break down and share my personal experiences and story a little bit at the same time. So, the INFJ's intuition is truly our superpower. Pattern recognition, gut feelings, and holistic thinking are the three main items I'm going to use to explain this to you. First, pattern recognition. So it's connecting the dots in behavior, trends, or events. It's just pattern recognition. And it's not just the things that we see or paying attention to, though. It's always working in the background. So if some of you are overthinkers who think a lot, you can kind of compare it to that, although it's basically a function that's happening in our brain constantly, whether we're thinking about it or not. So if I see something on the news, let's say, or on a post, and then I see that same person months later giving a speech and talking even just one sentence about something that I heard before, it's by pattern recognition, we mean that INFJ's brain is naturally connecting those patterns, meaning in the background, as if it were just a computer that was doing a calculation. So, what does that mean? It means we don't have to try very hard to connect a lot of patterns. And so that's just one instance, but we could have dozens of things like that happening in a day, or countless really. And that's kind of the funny side, is we don't even really know when it's happening or how it's happening. Sometimes, yes, we can point to something specific and say, oh yeah, I saw that a few months ago, and then I watched him talk about I don't know, the environment, and that those two things didn't go together. That doesn't make sense. So that person was obviously lying to one of those two groups of people, right? Something like that. So, and then from that, I have a certain character judgment, which, or a baseline, if you will, that I will use that point of reference to compare to everything else that person does. Again, that I connect the dot after that point. So you kind of see how powerful the pattern recognition is when it's not just something that you're skilled at or looking for, which a lot of people do nowadays, more than ever the last 4 years, but to have that function actually happening on its own in the background is just incredibly powerful as far as predicting future outcomes. So, okay, so pattern recognition, big one. Next, gut feelings. And this kind of ties in together the subconscious observations that create the hunches. So we do the pattern recognition first, and we're connecting all these things in the background, whether we want to or not. Sometimes I want to turn it off if I could. And then next is sort of these aha moments or hunches. And if enough time passes on a particular subject, like the last 4 years, 8 years, great example, when a certain say dot 117 comes into the picture, and my brain and my own uh, paying attention has connected that many dots, there will get to a point where somebody will say something or I'll see something, and it's like, okay, I am 100% sure now that I'm right about this prediction, or at least the general direction of the way these things are going. Whereas before, I might have felt like 99% or 97% sure, but that's the hunch or the aha moment, the light bulb moment. And again, I've had many of those moments over the years. And those are the kinds of things that over time, as you get older, wiser, as an INFJ, but any personality, that you see a trend of things, what you're good at, figuring out those kinds of things, and you have more confidence and you trust your intuition and discernment more. And so that's also very powerful when you trust it more, because you just have more confidence to do things in life based on that info and not just what you're told. And then, so gut feelings, hunches, light bulb effect, that happens at some point. Holistic thinking, the last part of this INFJ superpower, seeing how small actions ripple through time. So, holistic thinking, I'm thinking like just naturally the flow of the world or the flow of a certain culture. Like once we see a certain amount of things happen, this kind of goes along with the gut feeling, that we can predict that a certain amount of outcome is going to take place, such as if tons of people are questioning a certain thing with a medical instrument, right? That has to do with people's bodies. And we're looking at the doctors who are talking to us, we're looking at reactions to for years and years, right? So again, holistic thinking is we're seeing how these events are rippling into the future and what kind of accusations or uh, personal stories we've heard, different things, how that's going to ripple into the future. So again, it's not the crystal ball, it's not the prophetic word from God that he told us, yes, this is exactly what's going to happen. You need to tell the people, right? No, it's literally just naturally observing the environment, tied in with those gut feelings and the pattern recognition. And so this is all part of the same circle of the INFJ superpower, just working together at different times and ongoing. So I hope that kind of explains where this superpower comes from and how it functions. Because without you actually having it, having that gift yourself, it's like I said, it's very hard to describe to somebody, even when there's a perfect example. And I have essentially predicted exact events years in advance. But I'm also, hello there, geniuses. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be sort of a raw, unedited kind of video, as my dog's over there enjoying some outside time. So I haven't done a video maybe like this ever on this particular channel. I'm not sure. I don't even remember because it's been a while if I did. What I want to talk about a little bit is how it's a very interesting, crazy, and difficult time for INFJs, but also everybody in this world that we're living in. This is October 2024 as I make this video. And what I'm going to talk about applies to this whole year, and I'm sure probably next year as well. And most of it also applies to always, not just for INFJs, well, most of it for INFJs, but also a lot of it will apply no matter what personality type you are. So let's jump right into what I wanted to say. Especially in 2024, this year, in the last 4, 8 years, however far back you want to go, for people who are empathic, highly intuitive, really good at connecting the dots on different things, sort of natural body language readers, researchers, whatever, however you want to describe INFJs. It's a very difficult time, maybe the most difficult in history in some ways, because there's so much more information than there ever has been, and so much more ability for people like us to connect the dots, which is a great thing. And if you're like me and you do that on a regular basis, whatever personality type you are, then it's both fun, interesting. It's also great for improving yourself and being introspective for yourself, and just countless ways. The information is fantastic. However, like the yin and the yang, there's positive and negatives to it. And so the reason why I kind of wanted to talk about the difficult side of all of that is, for one, it's kind of hard for me to dissect the positive side here. And maybe you already know where I'm going with that. But on the negative side, it's really tough because most people aren't that intuitive, introspective, deep thinking, just constantly like INFJs are. So if you are, I applaud you for that, because it can be a very tough world to be that kind of person. And we get taken the wrong way a lot of times as being too serious and just sensitive, right? And for a long time, many years, my whole life, I struggled with that too, because most people get that perception, and it makes you feel not so good. It kind of hurts when it feels like people are always telling you that you're too sensitive or too serious when you're not. And when close friends get to know you and you hang out with them, they see that side of you, that you can be one of the most silly of everybody you know, and just ridiculous, slapstick comedy and everything. Because when we're in a good mood or around people that we know, love, trust, especially, then all of that comes out. We share every side of us, and we know who we are. But when we're around people that we don't trust, or maybe it's a time where we think it's a moment to talk about serious topics that affect us all, because as INFJs, we're also very altruistic, natural humanitarians, care about balance, care about people, a lot of times more than ourselves. And that's not us trying to be a hero or anything, it's just how we are. And sometimes I want to be able to shut that off. I wish I could just at will be kind of a hard nosed, I don't know, businessman, whatever, you know what I mean. But just, this is the way it is, and I'm going to tell you the way it is, and just take it and not feel anything indifferent about that. But I'm not like that. INFJs tend to not be like that at all, and really the opposite. So many challenges today for us, because of all this info that for us is just apparent and obvious, crystal clear, and so crystal clear that we're just oftentimes just kind of shaking our head or wondering what else we should say or text or say to someone we know, because it's just like, how do you not see it? Like,
all the answers are right in front of your face. But we can't do that, and we care about people too much to just try to whack them over the head with what we know. And we want to keep the door open for later too. So it's worth just sort of planting a seed, dropping a little hint about things that we see and know, and we just share it with the confidence that we have. And maybe it pans out in the near future. Maybe it takes shape 10 or 20 years later, as I have seen with people that I know. And so we're just that patient too, sometimes, to wait and wait and wait, even with people that annoy us, people that have treated us poorly, called us names, or put us into some label group that really doesn't apply to us, um, for the most part. So I think that's all I want to say. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments about this, I've spent the last almost 10 years, um, since I discovered myself being an INFJ, and it was one of the craziest, happiest moments of my life, because it just really explained, oh, this is why I do things I do. This is why I feel that way about people. Why do I treat them this way? Why do they treat me this way? Why is there always this struggle that's going on? But I can also say I'm doing 100 times better since I was then, because like what INFJs do, and like what I said, we're constantly looking to connect the dots and make more sense out of things. And so after about 10 years of doing that, for myself, working on myself, it's improved a lot. And only because of all of that time, all those years, that I'm at a point now where I really feel like I can share whatever I want, not just online, but with pretty much anybody, if I feel there's a need to do it, a good reason to do it. And I'm not going to worry about what they think of me. So I hope that for all of you that are watching, and I would love to help in the comments section if you have any questions, any specific things you want to bring up that I might be able to help with. At the earlier part of my INFJ journey, I was thinking I was going to do life coaching, because with the many experiences I have, both uh, let's say civilian and military, I know that I'm good at that kind of stuff, along with INFJ skills, of course. But it just wasn't something I was passionate about. There's other things that I'd usually like doing. However, it's really easy for me to respond to a text for any of you that would like a little assistance. So thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. There's kind of a new strategy here to be posting more videos, just different information and such. So if you'd like to stick around, please like and comment, subscribe, turn on the bell, all that crazy stuff, and then you'll be able to see it. So take care. God bless. Have a good one. And I will see you all again soon.
Hey there, geniuses. You ever notice how some people can scroll for 6 hours straight, argue online all day, jump from trend to trend, noise to noise, and somehow still feel emotionally fine afterward? But you can spend 10 minutes around the wrong energy and feel like your nervous system needs a reset. That's not weakness, and it's not you being too sensitive. A lot of INFJs are quietly hitting a wall right now, and most people around them don't even realize it's happening. Because from the outside, you probably still look functional. You still answer messages, smile, show up, still try to be understanding, still try to keep the peace. But internally, you've probably been carrying emotional weight that was never supposed to become permanent. And today, I want to talk about something that almost nobody explains correctly. Not just why INFJs feel overwhelmed in modern culture, but why many INFJs secretly feel disconnected from themselves right now. And more importantly, how you start finding your way back without becoming cold, bitter, isolated, or emotionally numb. And if this channel found you somehow at the right moment, stick around, because some of the things we're going to talk about in this video might explain parts of your life you've never fully put into words before. One of the biggest misconceptions about INFJs is that people think you're emotional in the same way everybody else is emotional. But INFJs don't just feel emotions. You absorb atmospheres. You notice tension before words are spoken. You notice when somebody's smile changes slightly. You notice when "I'm good" is different than usual. And after years of this, many INFJs slowly become emotional detectives for everybody but themselves. And that's the trap. You've become incredibly skilled at understanding other people while quietly losing touch with your own needs. And the dangerous part, people often reward you for it. They call you wise, supportive, mature, calm under pressure. Meanwhile, inside, you're exhausted. Because eventually the INFJ realizes something painful. Being understood by you does not mean other people are going to understand you back. And that realization changes a lot. This is also why so many INFJs suddenly disappear socially for periods of time. Other personality types may think they're distant, they're overthinking, they're dramatic, but often what's really happening is psychological overload. And ENFP sometimes take things out, jump into action immediately. An INTJ may detach and solve the problem strategically, but INFJs, you tend to internally process everything at once. Emotion, future consequences, relationships, spiritual questions, all simultaneously, which means your brain rarely turns off. And in today's world, that becomes dangerous because modern culture rewards constant stimulation, constant opinions, outrage, comparison. But INFJs are one of the few personality types that can actually become physically drained from too much psychological noise. Not because you're weak, but because your mind is always scanning beneath the surface. And here's where things get more interesting. A lot of INFJs right now are secretly stuck between two versions of themselves. The version they became in order to survive, and the version they actually are underneath all the adaptation. That's why so many INFJs feel strangely disconnected in adulthood. You learned how to shapeshift socially. You learned how to become what the environment needed. Around logical people, you became more logical. Around emotional people, softer. Around chaotic people, calmer. Wounded people, you healed them. Around dominant personalities, you became quieter. But after years of this, many INFJs wake up one day wondering, wait, who am I when nobody needs something from me? That question hits harder than most people realize. Because unlike some personalities that build identity outwardly, INFJs build identity relationally. Which means if you spend years of overgiving, you can accidentally become emotionally invisible to yourself. And that's when burnout starts. And let me say something important here. Not every INFJ is spiritually deep. Not every INFJ is emotionally healthy. Not every INFJ is automatically wise. Social media romanticizes INFJs, but unhealthy INFJs can be isolated, cynical, manipulative without realizing it, especially after betrayal. Because when INFJs stop trusting people, they often don't explode outwardly, they quietly disappear inwardly. And some of you listening have probably mastered functioning while emotionally disconnected. You still go to work, still handle responsibilities and help people, but deep down, you haven't felt truly inspired in a long time. And maybe nobody around you knows that. Now here's the part most INFJ videos never talk about. Your sensitivity is not the problem. Your lack of boundaries is. And that changes everything. Because many INFJs secretly believe being a good person means remaining available endlessly. But boundaries become self-erasure without them. You start feeling underappreciated, drained. Meanwhile, the other person may not even realize what's happening because you never clearly communicated your limits in the first place. And this happens with relationships too. INFJs often crave depth so intensely that surface level interactions begin feeling emotionally empty over time. But the danger is you can start idealizing connection instead of building it realistically. You begin searching for people who instantly get you, and sometimes those people exist. But healthy relationships usually aren't mind-reading competitions, even for INFJs. And growth means learning how to communicate instead of hoping somebody magically senses everything. And let's talk about another trending topic. Why so many INFJs suddenly feel disconnected from modern dating culture? This is exploding online lately. A lot of INFJs are exhausted by performance-based relationships. Curated personalities, fake confidence, attention games, endless texting with no substance. Because INFJs usually aren't searching for stimulation first, but psychological safety, authenticity, depth, meaning, emotional intelligence. And the hard truth, those qualities have become more rare. Not impossible, but more rare, which is why many INFJs would rather be alone than emotionally fake for social acceptance. And that's also why INFJs often become magnetic later in life, because once you stop over chasing approval, your calmness becomes powerful. Here's something else people don't realize about INFJs. You're strongest when you're weakest, because your growth usually happens internally before anyone else can see it. An ENTJ may visibly dominate a room, an ESTJ may visibly organize everything, but INFJ growth tends to happen underground first, quietly, through pattern recognition, spiritual reconstruction, which means your breakthroughs often are invisible to everyone else. And if you've felt stuck lately, I need you to hear this carefully. You are probably not as lost as you think you are. You may simply be between identities, between seasons, between old survival patterns, and a healthier version of yourself that hasn't fully emerged yet. That middle stage feels incredibly uncomfortable, but it's also where transformation starts. And one of the biggest signs an INFJ is finally healing is this. You stop trying to save everybody. You start choosing reciprocity over potential. You stop romanticizing emotionally unavailable people. You stop abandoning yourself just to maintain harmony. You stop shrinking your personality to avoid intimidating insecure people. And over time, you begin building a life that actually matches your values. Not just everybody else's expectations. That's huge for INFJs, because when INFJs become healthy, you become incredibly stabilizing people. Creative, perceptive, grounded, intelligent. You stop absorbing chaos and start influencing environments instead. And maybe that's why part of this video found you. Maybe you already outgrown certain people, environments, habits, certain versions of yourself, but you haven't fully admitted it yet. And if that's where you are right now, don't panic. A lot of meaningful growth feels lonely before it feels empowering. That's normal. Also, quick question. How many of you have noticed lately that you can almost instantly read when somebody's energy is off, even if nobody else notices it? That's something I want to explore more deeply in future videos because INFJs, INTJs, INFPs and ENFJs are certainly observant personality types in different ways. So if these conversations are your thing, stay close to this channel because we're going much deeper than generic personality stereotypes here. Before I close this out, I want to leave you with one final thought. You do not need to become colder to survive this world. You just need stronger filters and boundaries. That's different. You don't need to lose your empathy. You don't need to stop caring. You don't need to become emotionally cold. But you do need discernment. Who gets access to your energy? Who reciprocates? What environments keep damaging your peace? What habits quietly disconnect you from yourself? These questions matter, especially for INFJs, because your environment affects you more than most people realize. And if you're still uncertain about your personality type, or you've mistyped yourself for years, go take the free test over at 16personalities.com. It takes around 15 minutes and gives you a surprisingly detailed breakdown of your personality strengths, weaknesses, communication style, relationships, and more. And you might be shocked by how accurately it explains parts of yourself you've struggled to explain for years, just like it surprised me many years ago. And one last thing before you go, don't just binge personality content endlessly without applying any of it. Self-awareness without action becomes another form of procrastination. Take one thing from this video and use it this week. Set a boundary, have the difficult conversation if needed, take a break from overstimulation, reconnect with something meaningful. Stop chasing people who only value fragments of you. Small shifts make a difference over time. And if you've made it this far into the video, you're probably exactly the kind of person this channel was built for. So stay tuned. There's a lot more coming. And I'll see you again soon, geniuses. Take care.
The INFJ Creator, a unique path to future-minded creativity. Welcome to this exploration into the heart and mind of the INFJ, one of the rarest and most mysterious personality types in the world. If you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs type indicator, you may know INFJs as the advocates or the counselors, defined by their compassion, insight, and powerful sense of purpose. But INFJs are more than their type descriptions. As creators, they walk a unique path, often quiet, deeply internal, yet profoundly impactful. Their work isn't about following trends or seeking attention. It's about channeling vision, truth, and emotion into something that helps others see the world more clearly, or even more beautifully. Whether you're an INFJ yourself, know someone who is, or are simply curious about what makes this type tick, this journey will open the door into a creative mind unlike any other. Segment 1. The INFJ's Inner Vision, where creation begins. INFJs don't just make things, they feel them into being. For most INFJ creators, the spark of creativity doesn't come from the outside world. It starts deep within, a quiet inner world where feelings, patterns, and impressions swirl and evolve. Where others might find inspiration in what they see, INFJs begin with what they sense. Subtle emotional undercurrents, flashes of insight, and layered intuitions about people, ideas, or the future. Their inner world is rich, almost cinematic. It's where past, present, and future interweave, and where vision begins to take shape. The INFJ mind is always processing, reflecting, imagining. When they create, they are not just expressing themselves. They are translating a deeper message that's been stirring inside for a long time.
Hello there, geniuses. I'm back again with a new and improved headset mic, so all of you can hear me loud and clear. And if I'm out and about and I want to do a video or a live or something, you're probably going to see me with this. So I know I look like an air traffic controller or something like that, but hey, it gets the job done. Okay, in this video, I have prepared 5, count them 5 points to cover with you. And so these are going to be tips for INFJs or any empaths. Is that you? Or maybe you know somebody. So you can improve your day-to-day life. So if you're an INFJ, if you're introverted and intuitive, if you're an empath, if you fall into any of those categories, this video should be useful for you. And it's everything that also I've learned from my own experience. So I realized recently that this is something I can do very easily if I just come up with some points. So here we go, all 5. Number 1, boundaries for the heart. Protecting your energy as an empath. So if you're an introvert, you probably already know very well that being around a bunch of extroverts, just being around people in general, is tiring. Why is it tiring? Well, because we're using more energy than we want to. We're getting energy from them. We're kind of deciding how to deal with it or not to deal with it. There's a constant flow of energy going on, and we're losing energy basically in the process. It's not always a bad thing. It could be positive energy, but it's just we're always kind of absorbing it and going the extra mile to share our energy as well. And a lot of times it's just to inspire or bring the room to a better place. But whatever it is, we really need boundaries for our heart, for our body, our energy, because if we don't, then we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure every time we deal with a crowd of people or whatever that situation is. So how can you do that? One way that was a challenge for me for a long time, and sometimes it still is to just say no. Especially if it's somebody that you already know you can say no to and they'll be fine with it, that shouldn't be hard. If it's somebody else that maybe isn't going to take it well, you're going to have to learn how to do it. And yes, you're probably going to tailor it a little bit differently to everybody. Maybe you can come up with a strategy on how to do that and go about it in a nicer way or something. Really, the answer is to just say no. If it's something that you shouldn't be expected to do, something they shouldn't expect you to do. And so we have to respect ourselves and be clear about that kind of stuff if we want others to respect us. Otherwise, we're kind of telling them it's okay to do that. So I've had to learn this over decades the hard way. Everything I ever teach you or try to bestow to you to improve your life, I've made all the bad choices first, trust me. And there's plenty of things I'm still learning. But we got to say no. We got to come up with some sort of boundaries. If you know you've reached your limit of energy spent with other people, maybe it's time to walk away. Who cares what they think about you? We have our own life too, and it's not always going to match up with what the extroverts want to do. That's just how it is. And my final answer on that is if they don't understand you, if they don't try to understand why you feel that way, why you are the way you are, then they were never really a good friend to begin with. Number 2, the power of solitude. Kind of going into the same topic, but so why does alone time heal the INFJ soul? And again, this isn't just for INFJs, but if you're an INFJ, you definitely will get this 1,000%. Having that solitude, which is just time alone and away from everybody, whatever kind of people they are, personality, it's literally like our safe space as far as just removed from all the positive, negative energy and just able to think clearly, whether it be about our goals, relationships, our work, study time, just straight up relaxing, whatever it is, it allows us to recharge. It's like going to the gas station and filling up our tank, but instead this is with rest and energy. and just able to take on the world again. So we really need that solitude time every day. There's going to be days, of course, if work is crazy or something, you just can't do it. But it should be something that you literally try to improve yourself on, having regular time alone when you need it in the right amounts. And all the little nitty gritty details you have to come up with and figure out your own plan on how to implement it, because we're all different. But again, if you're an empath or an INFJ, an introvert, then there's nothing wrong with you for feeling that way. It's just how we're made. It's how we've been created to be. And there's so many ways we could list off that they are strengths, because we're able to, we don't need other people to do certain things, to process things, to make ourselves feel better. We're self-consoling in that way. And so personally, from everything I've learned, I would rather be an introvert than an extrovert, but I'm biased. So, okay, moving on. Number 3, feel, don't absorb, a guide to managing emotional overload. So, again, this is kind of about not just extroverts, just this is about being around people in general, because, like I said, they steal our energy, whether we want them to or not, whether they mean to or not. So, what it means to feel and not absorb is, let's say somebody that we're around, they're in a bad mood. They just have this massive negative energy, and we can feel it right away. And it bothers us. Maybe you get that sick feeling in your stomach, like, this is not good. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be around this. There is a conscious choice that we can make to sort of absorb it and let it become part of us, or to kind of put up the imaginary hand and just say, no, this is not me. I don't need to feel this. I don't need to take responsibility for their energy. I can only tell you from experience that there is a moment, if I'm paying attention to it, that when I feel it and realize that this is the current situation I'm dealing with, that I can kind of put up a wall and just say, they're off in left field. I don't need to deal with this. This is not my responsibility. But you have to be aware of it. And this is why I'm telling you this, is because if you're aware of it, you cannot let yourself absorb it. Yes, it's still going to be in the room. There's going to be this aura of negativity, but a lot of the battle is in your mind and just how you let it control you. Just be aware of it. And then again, with everything else that we're talking about in this video, figure out how you can manage it, deal with it. If you're in the situation like that with somebody negative in the room, well, how soon can you get away from it, right? Just a very logical answer. You can't always do it, but that's why, number 1, I said it comes up to how you handle it in your mind, because they are not you. You may feel it, but you don't have to accept it for yourself. Okay, and then we're on to number 4, trust your intuition, navigating life with INFJ clarity. And so again, we're talking about ways that you can improve your day-to-day life right now. Trust your intuition. If you've been aware that you're an empath or INFJ, an intuitive person for a while, and you're kind of learning this stuff, maybe you've watched a lot of YouTube videos, whatnot, then you are probably getting a good understanding that your intuition is not just some, possible chance that some of this is going to come true, but you can see in hindsight of times when you were at least mostly right more than you were wrong on things that people would think you were a psychic about. Like, how did you know that? Hey, what a great guesser you are. But no, we're not psychics. We don't have a magic wand or crystal ball. We're just always connecting the dots. And since we're talking a lot about people in this video, we're sort of natural body language experts. We don't know how to maybe teach it. We don't know all the little details. Like if you've ever heard a body language expert break down, oh, the eye blinks and the number of blinks per minute changed to, I don't know, 50, 60. No, we're not thinking about any of that sort of knowledge about body language reading. We're just naturals at it. And it's kind of mystical in that way because we're just born with it. Again, we're just created that way. And so we pick up on all the little nuances of people that we talk to, somebody that we see on TV, anywhere. And so we're really good at being natural lie detectors, body language experts, how somebody's moving. And even better if it's somebody that we know well, because you can tell by looking at them if they're in a good mood, if they're stressed, if they're in a rush. That's a good one, right? Have you ever seen somebody in a rush? It's really obvious if it's somebody that you know well, because it's like, oh, they're moving at a little bit quicker speed than they normally do. Uh, and it's kind of funny and sometimes not fun because we can't just say it. We could say immediately, oh, you're in a rush or something. But we can't put everything out there. So we kind of end up with these secrets that we don't tell anybody. But so back to the fourth out of the fifth point, trust your intuition, because you can look in hindsight and see that it's probably worth relying on. And so I don't want to say just only trust your intuition and don't listen to data of any kind, but your intuition is a very good skill and it can help you to navigate life. So what are you wanting to improve today? Or what are one of your short and long-term goals? What's your intuition telling you to do? It's probably more right than wrong. Okay. Okay. And then the last one, number 5, the self-care checklist, daily rituals for empaths and INFJs. So let me just read this really quick and then I'll give you my own sort of tips and experience. So develop a daily self-care routine, including journaling, nature walks, or meditative practices. These activities will help you process emotions and feel grounded amidst the sensory overload of the outside world that we've been talking very much about. So I haven't always been good about making a checklist or writing things down or journaling. I've gotten a lot better the last couple of years, but still, it's not really one of my most favorite things to do. However, I'm always thinking about what I should do, what I could do better and improve. INFJs tend to be very self-development oriented, but regardless of who you are, your personality, your experience, any sort of checklist, having any sort of daily routine is crucial to being a successful person at whatever you want to do. Because no matter what it is you want to do, we need to do those things every single day. And at first, it's kind of like a habit, or it's building a habit. So let's just take going to the gym, for instance. Those first 2-3 weeks, maybe a couple months, is kind of a grind if you haven't been doing it. But once you get past a couple months, especially of it, it's almost like a second nature. Oh yeah, it's 5 o'clock, or well, it could be in the morning or at night, whatever it is. It's just time to do what I always do, and you don't think about it. So for me, I made it a habit that, hey, when it's Monday through Friday, I'm going to try at a minimum to be at the gym. If I'm feeling good on the weekend, I'm going to go then too, because why not? It's just going to reinforce the habit and keep me in even better shape. And just from doing very simple workouts on a regular basis, even 10 or 15 minute lazy workouts, it just has reinforced the habit. My health has improved a lot. I feel better. I have more energy to do the things I want to do. And so just take that example and now apply it to something that you want to learn or be better at. What if you did that 5 minutes every day or 10 minutes? Well, at first it's kind of maybe seemed like a chore even to do that much, but then it would get really easy. And then again, after a couple months, it would be a piece of cake. And in fact, you'd probably be doing 20, 30, 40 or hours worth of it. And so as far as being proactive, focusing on yourself, improving yourself, now we're kind of talking about like your hobbies or career goals. It all comes down to the daily habit. So that was the self-care checklist, talking about your daily routine. And I think INFJs are among the best at being able to improve themselves, as well as empaths, because we're so in tune to what's affecting us mentally and spiritually, that if we just hone that, if we just kind of put it into a little bit of a logical box and realize that nothing's going to stop us, none of those energies are going to stop us if we just sort of follow a roadmap. If we just do that and take some really simple steps, then you're going to have a lot of success. So I think that's all I want to talk about in this video. I went way longer than I planned to, but hopefully that was helpful for some of you. I tend to just go with the flow with these kind of videos, and we'll keep posting videos on the channel related to psychology and INFJs and all that kind of stuff. But occasionally I'll do some videos like these that are kind of more like tutorials, talking to you. And so if you have any comments or suggestions, I'm all ears for your ideas, and we'll try to do that when I get a chance. So until next time, thanks for watching and take care. But like I said, it's not that I'm just predicting events, it's the pattern recognition. Everything I'm seeing, different people that I'm listening to who have good discernment and who I've previously connected the dots that they are authentic and they're being truthful. And so it's compounding, and it just keeps growing and expanding over time, the more that you're paying attention to it as well. So before I learned about everything with INFJs, the 16 personality types, and started studying it, like I said, some of these things were already happening my entire life on their own, but it wasn't until I really understood it and paid more attention to it that that superpower became stronger and much more effective. And I'm really thankful for that, because we all know what happened in 2020 and just around these years. And so I was really blessed to be able to not only, I think, discern the information very wisely and correctly, but understand how to best use my own approach to share it with others and to not be overbearing about anything, but be consistent at the same time and have the confidence to be able to create content, share posts and all that kind of stuff, and feel like I was mostly on the right track. And here I am years later, still doing it, and feeling good about that. Okay, so just to wrap up, let me give you some more maybe interesting notes about this INFJ superpower that we have. So real life applications, how do INFJs use this? We can spot group dynamic shifts very early. So just one example that I like to use from my Marine Corps days is if there was a meeting of some kind. This has nothing to do with the Marine Corps or military in general, but anytime I was in a group with a wide variety of people, I could gauge kind of how they're feeling, things they're thinking about. If, oh, those two are kind of buddy-buddy over there, and they don't like this guy or girl, different things like that. Stuff that most people would not be able to pick up, INFJs can pick up in a matter of seconds. And so that stuff really is a superpower that can help us navigate relationships, conflicts, and different things. Another way we use this skill of introverted intuition is avoiding pitfalls. Kind of on the same topic, when you can really gauge interpersonal and world events of any kind, you can really not only warn others, but Be careful yourself and avoid pitfalls. Problem solving, reverse engineering outcomes for solutions. I've definitely done this many times, even when most of the time it wasn't necessarily my plan to reverse engineer something. But going back to being able to predict outcomes or events, once we get to that hunch or light bulb moment where we're pretty much 100% sure that a certain number of things are going to happen, let's say 1 to 2 years into the future, then if there's some goal that I'm working towards of any kind, then I can basically place myself at that 2 year from now mark and say, okay, this is where I want to be at that point. So what do I need to do starting now and moving forward to get to that point? And that is also a huge superpower. I mean, just planning and having goals in general. But then when you can kind of predict where the world's going to be at years later, even more than 50%, that's, again, very powerful. And I've done that many times. I could give some specific examples, but I'm trying to keep this a little bit short and just wrapping up now. A couple more things you're going to like at the end of this. And make sure, if you haven't already, that you subscribe, turn on the bell for INFJenius, because I'm going to be doing more videos like this and just more ways to kind of tie all of this together and share with you not only my experiences as an INFJ, but how understanding this kind of stuff can really help you with all of your goals. Whether that's a goal 1 week from now or 6 months, either way, or 5 years. The challenges of intuition. Here's one that INFJs will complain about a lot, and I'll probably do some videos myself about. Self-doubt, overthinking, misinterpretation. So self-doubt, that's when others dismiss our insights. That's what I do. I pet dogs and I play piano and I think deep about stuff. So it's hard not to doubt ourselves, even for someone like me who's really tested my intuition. I've put myself out there. I've put in the time to try to back up my intuition with logic and God-given discernment and tie it all together. It's really hard not to doubt yourself, whoever you are, but especially with something as kind of fleeting, floating, hard to explain, not tangible, something like intuition. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge every day, every week. Overthinking, yes, INFJs overthink a lot. And partly, like I said, because it's already happening on its own in the background. So it's not much of a stretch for us to tap into that and then be actually thinking about it. Misinterpretation, others see it as luck or paranoia. I guess luck on the good side of when our predictions come true, and then paranoia when something doesn't exactly pan out. It happens sometimes, but we don't always get everything right. But personally, like I said, I feel good about my track record of the past. And I would say a big part of that, how good an INFJ's track record is really based a lot on maturity and lessons learned from the past. Because there were times, much more often earlier in life, where I had a bad feeling or a hunch about something, and then I would just tell everybody my thoughts, and a little bit in a emotional way, not so much logical. So the mature INFJ or person in general is able to basically balance the emotional and the logic. And for one way of saying it, not tell others about it, not spill the beans or try to lay out any prediction until they've allowed it to simmer a little bit, maybe do a little bit more looking into that subject or talk to more people, whatever it is. And then once they get to the proper point, then share it with others. But in general, It's not like we're going to be talking about, oh, hello, how are you? I'm an INFJ, if you didn't know that already, and I have really great introverted intuition, and I'm going to predict your future. Don't go about it like that. keep that keep that on the down low. So really the best way to explain any of these predictions or hunches to anybody is really just to do it very logically and just to show concern for them, do it in a loving way. But it needs to be the right person, just like all things. You can plant the seed, but it's not going to grow unless the soil is fertile and it's able to, or maybe it just takes a lot of waterings over many years. But those kinds of things are just decisions that you have to decide for each person. Okay, so wrapping it up with honing intuition. This is the best one for any of you who want to improve your intuition. It does take time, but it's very doable. And I would say for anybody, not just INFJs, but it makes light years of difference into the future when, like I said, you're just paying attention to it. You do a little bit of research into your own personality and understand your cognitive functions, how they work. You don't have to spend thousands of hours, even just maybe a couple dozen. I don't know. But that's going to be different for everybody too. How you can hone it is journaling your insights to track your accuracy, to simply not forget things that you've noticed, observations, how you came to that conclusion, and so forth, something you can look back on. Practicing mindfulness to amplify intuitive nudges. So that's what I said. It's as simple sometimes as just paying attention to it on a regular basis. And so maybe just watching a YouTube video once in a while, such as from yours truly, and getting one more description, explanation about how these things work could make all the difference, because then when you're interacting with a group of people or you see something in the news, watch a person talk about that news, then you'll just naturally be thinking more on an intuitive and discerning level. So just be mindful of it. And then lastly, trusting instincts without second guessing. So that comes down to confidence and sometimes just taking a little risk. You know, if you feel passionate and strong enough about something, go ahead and put it out there somehow, or take some action that is backed up from your intuition. Just another idea for you. So intuition is a gift and a responsibility, no doubt. Like I said, it's one of those things sometimes I wish I could turn off, yet at the same time, it's a gift that I would never want to give away, despite the issues, not being able to explain it very well to others, or not having more people sort of trust it and listen to me because it's such a rare thing and they don't understand it. So regardless of all those issues that happen every month, it's a real blessing to have. And it's helped me in many ways, many times, and it will continue to do so. So I hope that gives you a little bit better perspective and understanding of how INFJs predict the future and this intuition hack. If you have any questions or comments, like I said, let me know in the comments below. And please subscribe for more videos like this as I continue to try to vary up the content a little bit and give you guys some different things to keep you entertained and interested. So thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. But like, it's not that I'm just predicting, it's the pattern, everything I'm seeing, different people that I'm listening to who have good discernment and who I've previously connected the dots that they are authentic and they're being truthful. And so it's compounding, and it just keeps growing and expanding over time the more that you're paying attention to it as well. So before I learned about everything with INFJs, the 16 personality types, and started studying it, like I said, some of these things were already happening my entire life on their own, but it wasn't until I really understood it and paid more attention to it that that superpower became stronger and much more effective. And I'm really thankful for that, because